We are recording, Gia. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Where are you today?
I'm in Sheffield, where
Lovely,
I live. Yeah.
lovely. Gia, we start the podcast the same way on every episode, and it's always a fitting question to get things moving. And I'm going to ask you to tell me, please, the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro.
Um, it would have to be an ELO song for me, who I grew up listening to with my family. They were kind of like the family's favorite band. Um, and it's a song called Mission, a world record by Electric Light Orchestra.
That's a
Yeah,
beautiful record,
it is.
um, and it's quite a sort of lush somberish sort of intro before it becomes really beautiful and colourful and grand. Um, which kind of leads me to the question that I like to ask artists, and that is in regards to intros. I think if somebody was to potentially take that track that we're discussing, that ELO track, to a record company now, they'd be like, yeah, that intro's way too long. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, they would.
Which is, it's bullshit. It's a great piece of music. It should be judged for its own merits. But we live in a world where streaming services and other apps like TikTok and that are having a big part of getting your music out to a wider audience. So with all of that considered, Gia, can you tell me if any of that, like that kind of competitiveness of your music being alongside so many other artists and new artists that are competing for playlists and such on Spotify and TikTok algorithms. Does any of that filter through into your creative process?
No, I don't love social media, and I don't love its impact that it's had on people's creativity. I think some people are able to use it to their own gain. I just find it difficult to. I feel like I'm just constraining myself when I think about things like that. So I try not. I don't even, to be honest, when I'm writing music, I don't really even think about the audience. It just has to be a natural. Uh, it just has to progress naturally how I feel it should, and I don't ever think, will anyone enjoy this even? I just don't think that's a helpful thing to. It's Bowie said it early on, and he just said, I don't really care. I just make music, and if people like it, that's great. But the point for him, and same for me, is just that need to express whatever it is that that particular song expresses. So no, and the I think the TikTok thing is funny because I see it being quite reductive sometimes, but other times people catch on to details in songs that might not ever be radio friendly or whatever else. So it's difficult with TikTok because I think it's getting a little bit better. I remember when there was a time that people would just play 20 seconds or whatever, it wasn't even 20 seconds, like 6 seconds of a song. And then when the actual record came out, no one knew the rest of the song. They just knew that bit. And it was like, what? But I think people caught on to how strange that is, and that's changing a bit. But yeah, no, sorry, I went on a tangent there. But no, I
No,
don't
no, I'm really
know.
interested because artists have such different takes on that, and I would say that of the 500 plus episodes I've done of this show, most artists kind of lean towards your stance on it as well. Shouldn't necessarily sort of compromise your art for in that sort of early creative process. You shouldn't necessarily be considering fucking algorithms and things like that. It makes no sense.
For me, it's kind of I see it as a completely separate business almost. It's like there's an end to the music industry that's very very important. That
Mm.
those boxes are ticked, but I don't concern myself with it really. Maybe to my detriment. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Can you tell me, please, the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please?
Um, I would say it was a Kate Bush song. It was This Woman's Work by Kate Bush.
Yeah, that'd do it, wouldn't it?
It will do it, yes. And my mum was a huge is a huge Kate Bush fan. And I think I heard it when I was very young. I'm not sure I understood what it was meant for, but it still just carried such weight to it. You know, it's so beautiful, that song. Um, but it makes me think of my mum, and it makes me think of uh, women and motherhood and all these things that make me cry anyway. So yeah, God, I love that song. It's so beautiful.
The video would break you in half as well. Every time we watch that, it
I
just
know she was like 14 or 16 or something when she wrote that.
no way.
Let's see exactly what it was, but um
Because that didn't come till quite late in her career either, did it? That
no,
was
let's see this woman's work. Um oh no. Oh wait, it's a different one. Maybe it's a different song. Damn.
right.
She wrote The Man with with the Child in His Eyes when she was 13.
I knew that. I did know that.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, still, I mean, that's ridiculous to be able to write something as incredible as that at such a young age.
Insightful and I don't know. Anyway, I love Kate Bush. If you couldn't tell, but yeah, that's probably my first emotionally impactful listen, I would say.
And if you had to pinpoint what that emotion was, what would it have been?
I still feel this way about it. I think it was probably just, you know, that there must be a word for this emotion, but it's somewhere on the crossroads between. It's a bittersweet feeling of like existential, like kind of existential dread and fear of life ending, but also the beauty in it and the poignancy in it. Um, just that sort of, yeah, all encapsulating emotion, sadness and hope and happiness and everything at once.
You mentioned that it was your mum that first exposed you to Kate Bush. Um, Tell me a little bit about where you grew up and was home a very musical place, and if so, alongside Kate Bush, what other sort of music was you exposed to at a young age?
Uh, Home was a musical place in the way that everyone listened to good music, but uh, no one was playing music in my family apart from my dad. My dad made trance music, which is obviously a completely different corner. But yeah, my mum was very eclectic with music taste. So she likes she did all the trip hop stuff like Portishead and Massive Attack and Tricky and stuff like that. And then Bjork was another big thing for my mum. But then she was a bit of a rock chick as well. She loved Queens of the Stone Age at that time, and she has a really eclectic taste. It's like she'll move between all that stuff and then also just like Lady Gaga and like
Yeah.
loves all that stuff. And yeah, and then my dad, he's more sort of, I guess you could call it dad taste, but I love it. You know, it's like Steely Dan and Duran Duran and stuff like that. And but then ELO, I guess they could also be considered dad music taste. Yeah, so quite an array. And then my stepmom really likes funk and soul and stuff. So I really got into Shalimar and Fat Larry's band and stuff like that. So yeah, massive array of different music.
Oh,
But
good music.
yeah, and then my auntie Katie introduced me to Bowie, and obviously that's just a massive thing for anyone when they discover who that was.
Yeah,
All those that huge collection of music that he left for us. So
yeah,
yeah, everybody loves music. My grandparents, everyone.
fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm going to move forward a little bit to school now and ask you to tell me the track that reminds you of your time at school, please.
Um, Probably Paramore. I loved Paramore in high school, and I'll go with the Twilight soundtrack, Decode. Um, yeah, God, such a good song. I still love Paramore, but it just really reminds me of yeah,
Yeah.
being a teenager.
Does it get any more emo than
No,
Paramore and Twilight?
no, it's unbelievable. But yeah, God, so good. It's a great song, and all those early Paramore songs, to be honest. Like I used to sit and watch MTV do that kind of rotating music video thing, and I don't think that even is possible to watch anymore. Do they even do that anymore?
I think MTV is just about like fly on the wall documentaries about teenage mums in America and things like that now. I don't think like you get music on there anymore.
Well, that was yeah. I first discovered Gaga and Paramore on there, and God, it was amazing MTV at the time.
And
But
how was that? As you know, if you know, I guess around that time, all of the kind of My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy and Panic and all of that was happening, and was probably, I guess, Marilyn Manson sort of was happening then, and there was so much, I guess, male rock happening. How exciting was it to be exposed to Paramore and Lady Gaga and these? Because you know, make what you want of Lady Gaga. I think she's a fascinating artist,
yeah,
and yes,
um,
it was leaning towards more commercial pop music, but she made it so interesting.
yeah.
And how was that, as you know, to be exposed to that?
I think it was all a bit subconscious when I was a teenager and a kid because I think when I first came across those music videos, I think it was Paparazzi, and then on the Paramore side, it was that Crush 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 song or whatever it was that they did, one of the first two. Um, I it was all subconscious. I just thought, oh, that's cool, and those girls are cool, and it's more about Hayley Williams. I thought she was cool. I think she probably made me want to sing and play guitar and stuff. But with Gaga, I thought she was just mental. And actually, it's only that I've got older. Now that I've got older, I've realized that it's not actually very commercial at all. And she changed so much of that landscape.
Mm,
The big ones maybe were, but it was all. I'm still a huge Gaga fan. I just think
mm,
she's incredible, and I think it's just no one can stand up against her really. But um, it took that kind of New York club scene and it was so camp and so dressy um and put it into kind of pop, and pop was kind of a little bit boring at that time, and she kind of just burst onto the scene and made it ridiculous. And what was it called, Born This Way, the album Born This Way, although I don't like the song, the album is amazing. It's like really rocky and gothic and
Bad Romance on that.
yeah, and also no, Bad Romance is, what is it, hang on,
I think it is.
um Born This Way. No, I think it's on. I think that's on Fame Monster,
Right.
which is the one that came before that. It's got like what did you say there was on it?
Bad Romance.
No, that's on the previous one. This one has stuff like Bloody Mary, Shizer, Electric Chapel, all these like rock centric ones. My mum loved it, and we got to see her in concert because my mum used to work at the Etihad. I think it was Man City's stadium thing at the time in Manchester, and she got us tickets to see that, and I was
Amazing.
blown away by it. But yeah, I don't know. I was still so young, so I don't know what it was like in terms of the musical climate at the time. But I just thought it was amazing.
Tell me about school and your experience of it. What did you make of it? Did you enjoy it?
Uh, no, I'd say overall, no, I didn't enjoy school, but it's not because anything untoward happened. I just found it boring. Um, and I only really enjoyed little small details of it. Like I enjoyed um, English literature and all that sort of stuff that came along with, poetry and stuff. And then even I didn't really like art very much because it was quite reduced to copying
Sure.
things and stuff. So I don't know. I always felt like school felt like a bit of a waste of time. And I was also a bit of a recluse. So although I was friends with everyone, I never wanted to go anywhere with them. I just wanted to go home and learn stuff on guitar or whatever it was. So yeah, I couldn't wait to get out of school really. Um,
How old was you when you got a guitar?
um, I think I was about initially, I think I was 13, and then I just never got round to learning anything. And it sat in my house for another 2 years. And then when I was 15, picked it back up again and started learning covers.
What
Um,
sort of stuff was you sort of leaning into cover wise?
I do David Gray quite a lot for some reason. Um,
Okay, what song?
I would do Sail Away,
Lovely song.
lovely song. And then what was the other one? What was the other one on that album?
This Year's Love, Babylon,
Probably This Year's Love. Or
Say Hello, Wave Goodbye.
yes, one of them. I can't remember which one it was. It was definitely Sail Away. That was my main one. That was like my favorite thing to do. Then I would do some ELO. I did Showdown by ELO. My dad loves that version that I do. I might even bring it back and do it on stage now. Um, and then I did some Simon and Garfunkel because I was trying to learn Scarborough Fair, which has literally taken me like up until 5 years ago to perfect because I started learning it way too early. But it was really good. It made my, like picking dexterity
Hmm.
quite accurate. But yeah, loads of things really. Used to do Janice Ian as well because my grandma's favorite song is At 17.
Yeah.
So I learnt that for her. So yeah, nice little collection of things.
You said that you found school boring and you was more interested in going home and um, playing the guitar. Career wise, when you're sitting there in front of the careers officer at school and they want to know what you want to do and what were your considerations? Was music already something that you thought this is where my destiny lies here?
I think so at that stage when we were having those conversations. I always knew I didn't want to go to university. Um, so when the careers officer, I had you've reminded me of a conversation that I had with them, or maybe it's the head of my sixth form at the time. And she was like, "What are you going to do with your life?" And I was like, "Well, I'd quite like to write music." And she was like, "That's not something that you can live off." And I was like, at the time, I was like, "Whatever, fuck you." But I get what she's saying now, looking back. I don't. It's not a lucrative career, unless it turned into one. But yeah, I just didn't really. I wasn't worried about that sort of thing for some reason, and that's not because I had my family on, you know, well off or haven't ever been able to support me in like monetarily wise. But I just I don't know. I think musicians have this thing where you kind of dive headfirst into it anyway, even though you know it might not bring you anything apart from joy.
And
Um,
what you've just said there's exactly right. It can bring you joy, and I think so many kids have such a shit time navigating their way through school, and to sit in front of a careers officer and have a concise idea of what you want to do,
mm,
however creative that one that may be, to have some teacher go, well, no, that's not really a career. Oh, fuck that. That's like,
it's
I,
all
I said exactly the same to my careers officer, Gia. I said, I want to be a musician. And they went, well, that's not a proper job. And suggested that I go and work at Ford's. Not that there's anything wrong with working at Ford's, which is the factories where I lived. So I said, no, I don't want to do that. They were, well, what else are you going to be then? So I was just being a prick at that point. I just went, stuntman. And I don't want to be a stuntman, but I just thought, well, what's their argument going to be on that? But yeah, that was because I think, if you even said about art, even if you lean into so many of the creative fields at school, you're not really given the freedom to kind of explore, that how
yeah.
you want to explore it. It's like, no, we copy this today. And the same, I found the same in music at school as well. It was like, it wasn't really tailored to a creative mind to go, right, what do you want to do? What are you trying to say? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think I thought about this the other day. It must be difficult to foster um, that kind of pure creative environment with kids that can't play any instruments yet because it does take a while to get to that stage where you're able to start expressing something, I guess.
Sure.
But I'm sure there's ways around it. I think yeah, music was diabolical at my school. It was awful. I wanted to play drums. That was my thing. So I that was my first thing before guitar. Um, And I only stopped it because we didn't have any space in my house for a drum kit. But um, that was the only thing that I thought my school was good at with music was they got teachers in to teach you stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, shit environment for creativity. Same with art. I don't think these two things go well together, do they? It's something that festers over time. Your creative language grows slowly and takes experience in life. I think I was kind of more concerned about happiness than stability because I knew I could. My dad owned a coffee shop when I was up until the age of 17, when I was 17, and then he sold it. But so I knew how to make coffee. I knew I could get kind of shifts in coffee shops, and there was something quite romantic about this idea that I would kind of do that thing that all creatives do and slog away in a coffee shop or a bar or whatever, and then
yeah.
spend all my time on my own writing stuff. I was really excited about that concept, and I didn't worry about anything else. Um, yeah.
Tell me the first record you remember buying from a record store.
Um, it was something that my mum she already had, but I needed it for myself, and it was "Songs for the Deaf" by Queens of the Stone Age because it's a brilliant album, and it needs to be turned up very loud in your ears. I mean, I didn't need to buy things anymore. I didn't need to buy CDs because I bought everything on iTunes.
Yeah,
Um, but I've always loved having a physical thing. And then my mum bought me one of those shit Crosby, those record players that are in briefcases.
yeah, yeah.
Looking back, it was awful, but I loved it. I didn't care that it was terrible sound. And I was like, I need that for my record player. So I went and bought that on vinyl.
Fantastic.
It's great, great record.
And and as you've got older, and you've releasing music yourself, how important has the independent record shop been for you as an artist?
It's been important growing up in the sense that it introduced me to loads of things I might not have heard, which is kind of the crux of everything, isn't it, with record shops? And that's what we've lost. And now we have this homogenous music listening thing where you're being second guessed all the
Yeah,
time. And you literally can't organically find something new anymore on Spotify. Even the radio thing used to be great on Spotify, and now that's just AI ran and it's just awful. So I that was really important for me growing up that I could go in and go, oh, I like that album cover, or I like the sound of that thing, or let me just pick that up and listen to it. And if it's good, great, I found something new and no one else knows it, and I get to kind of go and introduce it to other people.
yeah,
Um, and then now having an album and seeing all these independent record shops stocking it and giving it a chance across the country is like ridiculous. It's such a full circle thing to be able to go in there and see it, even if there's only 5 copies in the shop. It's amazing. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, I've seen your answer to the next question, and and for listeners to the podcast, I've asked you to tell me the song that soundtracked a year's clubbing. The short and sharp answer was I hate clubbing, never went. Uh, right, so you're not getting away with it.
Oh
But
God.
I'm gonna reshape the question. So tell me a song that sort of sad. I've had a few. It's quite weird the amount of musicians that never went clubbing that have done this podcast that were like, nah, just weren't into it. And I've had DJs on here that are like, I love DJing, but I don't actually like going to clubs. And
Yeah.
um, so okay, let's kind of post school around the time where you're hanging out with your friends in like in a dive bar or pub wherever, like something that kind of reminds you of those times.
Um, I think when
And
I was
I've thrown you right on the spot here, haven't I?
no, when I was I'm just thinking I was never a party. I never went to even like house parties. I didn't care. I didn't really care about that sort of thing. It only came when I was a lot older, that sort of thing, when I was like 20, 21.
Yeah.
Um, but when I was hanging out with my friends at the end of high school, it was all Lana Del Rey, which is not very clubby at all, but it was like me and my friends were absolutely obsessed with Lana Del Rey. Um, but I'm trying to think of a club adjacent song that um, God, I don't know, it's really
Where,
hard to.
where 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 was high school? Where was all this happening?
Well, I'm from Sheffield, but my mum took me to Cheshire to go to high school because she got with another man.
Right.
And I hated Cheshire. I thought it was really boring.
Yeah.
Um, so it was in Wilmslow in Cheshire. And there was lots of footballers and their families, so lots of rich kids, and they would throw big house parties all the time. Um, but I kind of now I'm older, I'm like, I wish I'd gone back and listened to stuff. They were listening to absolute crap, though, to be honest.
Hmm.
Now thinking about it, at the time, it was awful. It was like David Guetta. I hate David Guetta. I don't
Hmm.
understand it.
And was you aware of what was going on musically in Sheffield as well? Because surely there was lots of exciting stuff happening in Sheffield in them sort of more formative years of yours.
I wasn't really aware of the scene in Sheffield. I'd come on the weekends and I would just hang out with my family, and I was a skateboarder when I was a kid, so that was my main concern. Um, so I wasn't really, and even now I'm only kind of vaguely aware of what's going on in the Sheffield scene because I came back from London after COVID, and then it was still kind of the fallout from COVID, so the live thing hadn't come back in. Um, but yeah, no, like now I've got a few friends that are in bands, and I'm aware of quite a few of those having played. Like I've met a few bands playing Tramlines and Rock and Roll Circus and stuff like that in Sheffield. But at the time, I really didn't know what was going on in
Yeah.
Sheffield. But I've always been a bit of a recluse. That's my main problem is that like I'm confident and talkative, but I would rather just be on my own most of the time. So I didn't get out a lot when I was a kid.
Okay. Well, look, we'll leave the club and I'll take you back to your safe place, right? So for this question, I'm gonna take you back and ask you to tell me a favorite track from an artist from your home county.
Was it county or country? I've got country on my list.
Well, don't worry, because of the 556 episodes, I would say 526 of them people say exactly what you've just said. Is it county? I thought it was country. So don't worry. Like, I need to just put it in big block capitals, county, not country. And I've been threatening to do that for so many episodes now. I've never done it.
It,
Um,
it literally says country on my list. Country.
right, that's very strange.
So just saying.
Okay, well look, let's while we talk about your track for country, I'll give you a little bit of time to think about county.
Uh,
Um,
okay, so well, the home country is Protection by Massive Attack.
okay,
It sounds like early, well, I think it's actually maybe late 90s that, but it sounds to me like 2000s Britain. It just sounds like that to me, kind of alternative 2000s Britain. Um, County, okay.
so is that something? Because that track, Tracy Thorn's voice is sublime. It's just so good, and to sort of see her pair that with Massive, when I first heard that, it was ridiculous, and it was like, and it reshaped everything. But the girl was a band. All of a sudden, they were this sort of folk duo. To then, all of their music become at that point way more electronic and more trip hoppy. And
It was a bit more like Air, wasn't it? It kind
mm,
of has that sort of adjacency. I love Air and all that trip hop stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like Beth Gibbons and Portishead. Like the same kind of effect. It just gives this. I don't know what it is. It's like it could be Tricky. Tricky has all these songs that are super kind of trip hoppy, and then as soon as they put someone on there that sings and brings this soul to it, it just
yeah,
creates great. Yeah, it's brilliant. I'm trying to think of someone from I think it's gonna. It might be a. God, who shall it be? Put me on the
Where,
spot.
where's home? Are we going Sheffield?
Going Sheffield, 100%. I don't have any. I don't feel any emotional affiliation with Cheshire.
Yeah.
Um,
Sheffield's got a lot. You got a lot to choose from there.
I know, I'm just thinking which one I genuinely, because I could say Pulp, but I'd be lying. You know, I could say something by Pulp. I could say, who should I say? It might be a Human League one.
Oh, yes, please.
My dad played. I'm just trying to remind. I don't listen to Human League as much anymore, but my dad used to play Human League quite a lot. And then I think my dad had a story about who's from Human League, who's the singer.
The singer is Phil Oakey.
Yeah, Phil Oakey. My dad had some sort of story about because he used to run a coffee shop on West Street, and he had some story about Phil Oakey. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this is someone else, and maybe it's someone else from the Human League. Um, just stopped playing the music and started selling Tupperware under a bridge in Sheffield. I don't know.
That
Anyway,
can't be Phil Oakey. I mean, that would be incredible if it was. But the Human League split quite early on, and that they were a large band, and then they sort of divided, and Phil Oakey and the two women vocalists continued as the Human League, and the rest of the band become Heaven 17.
oh, is that what? Oh, right. Okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Never knew
But so yeah, you could have Temptation by Heaven 17 as well, which is a fantastic record.
that. Okay.
But yeah, give
Oh,
me a Human League track.
oh, it might be an obvious one. I might just go with. Hmm, go with. I might just go with Love Action.
Oh, fantastic!
It's a good song.
It's a great song. What a voice he's got as well. Yeah, fantastic. Um, okay, this is your opportunity now, Gia, to be no, I'm not even going to say tastemaker, an influencer, and be proper down with the kids. This is where I ask you to tell me a song that you think many people may not know that you would like them to hear.
Well, this is I didn't know this song up until this year, and I don't know how I've gone my whole life without knowing this record. But it's I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a record called Parallelograms by Linda Perhacs, which came out in 1970. Um, but there's a song on there. Well, I like the whole record really, but there's a song called Moons and Cattails, which is um, really unusual, and it's quite kind of Western and really playful. And she's just got such a beautiful voice. I can't believe I grew up with, Joni Mitchell and all these, you know, amazing female folk vocalists, and I didn't know who she was. Linda Perhacs, who knew? She's absolutely amazing. And she still sings. I think she's in a maybe like late 70s now or something like that, 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole record's good. There's a song on it called um, Hey Now, Who Really Cares, I think, which is the biggest one on there and is beautiful. But yeah, Moons and Cattails.
Wonderful. Do you make it really easy for people to go and listen to that and all the other songs that we've talked about today? Because we put a little Spotify playlist together, so people can then go and
Oh, that,
reference any songs they don't know, and also on that playlist will be some of your music. And we should be talking about your music now because we've banged on about everybody else's and we've not mentioned yours. So tell me what's happening.
I don't make music.
All right, okay. It's been lovely having you on. Thanks, mate. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I just released my first album. It came out on Friday, the 13th of September, which is a little bit ominous, but
Was that a conscious decision?
no, well, not on my behalf anyway.
Yeah.
It's label, but and it's not had any effect. So yeah, so it's called Transparent Things. It's my debut album, and it's weird to know that it's out in the world now because I think there was we initially wanted to release it earlier, but we extended the process, so we released more singles. So that meant that the cycle of singles went on for a long time. So it's really strange to say that it's actually out in the world. Um, so yeah, that's what's going on recently. I'm going on tour in November as well. I'm touring it in November. So yeah.
And if people want to find out where they can come and see you, where's the best place to, I guess, keep up to speed with everything that you're up to, release wise and tours and such? Where's the best place?
Um, I keep people up to date on every social media channel apart from, I mean, TikTok is obviously not the same place, but Instagram has all the information on it in my little link. I've got a website if you're more classically oriented like that. I've got a website called giaford.co.uk. Um, and it's got all the tour dates on it. It's got I think it's got record stores where you can go and buy the vinyl or the CD. Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful. Would you, if it's all right with you, when we drop this episode, we'll tag you in it. So if people haven't found you and followed you already, then we'll make it nice and easy for them to do so.
Cool. Yeah.
Um, Gio, it's been lovely having a chat.
Yes, I've enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.